Well, it helps if I click the button, Heather. How are you this morning?
Good morning. How are you?
Good, good. I'm excited to get this one going today. It's a fun time to catch up. We were just talking backstage about all of the things going on right now in the industry. So many events happening in Chicago here in September. And, you know, you and I have known each other a long time, but I'm excited. Welcome to Coffee Chats. Most of you may know me, but some of you may not know Heather on the other side. So we're going to have Heather kick us off here in a few minutes with a introduction. But Heather is an amazing person for today's show. She ran operations at an MSP prior to her current gig. She's currently working right now as a doing fractional work and working in the GTIA community. And you have just been a heartbeat of this community for so long. And so you are also now a Coffee Chats guest. And so join us now, ask us questions. And if you're joining us live today, just chime in. Let us know where you're joining us from. Let us know if you have a cup of coffee you've got, you're drinking. And if you've got any questions for an operations leader who has a lot of experience and battle scars in the MSP industry, like many of us do. And so my introduction didn't do you nearly the justice. Heather, I would love for you to do an introduction. And I don't like the, I'm Heather, this is what I do. I want the 3 to 5 minate, I want the Heather story. Tell us the Heather story before we jump right into the topic.
I'm not even sure what's the Heather. So I've been in IT for 40 years.
Yeah.
So that tells you how old I am. I worked at large companies. I've worked at smaller companies. It was interesting. I used to work for Sears Consumer Finance and Discover Card, and in another life. And whenever I came into MSP world, I didn't really understand MSP world. I kept saying, what do you mean you don't create anything? You just buy a bunch of stuff and you resell it to people and they pay you for it? I don't really get it. But I have come to love MSP world and the community. It is like no other industry out there in IT specifically. You know, I worked for an MSP for almost 14 years, and we went through a pretty heavy breach at one time back in 2019 before the whole COVID thing. And the community that just rallied around us and helped us, we could not have gotten through that without them. And, you know, we learned so much, and I can't say enough about MSPs.
I love it. I love it. You are also part of GTIA. You're part of Central Mafia user groups. Tell us a little bit about how much you love the community and some of the groups you're part of, Heather.
So GTIA is actually where I met you, John, and Ben.
5 years ago.
That, I was kind of hanging out with Ben at CCF one year, and it was both of our first times. And he kept talking about his boss and how great his boss was. And I'm like, finally, about, you know, halfway through the day, I'm like, I got to meet this guy because he walks on water. Like, what is going on? And I ended up meeting you, John. And that is just, you know, CCF and ChannelCon, which is coming up in August. So if you guys haven't registered, I hope you guys can go. I can't be there. My daughter is due any day now. Basically, she's 38 weeks pregnant and staying with us. And, you know, the thing about GTIA, it's non-vendor focused. It's industry focused. And that is one of the things that GTIA stands out in our industry, because we go to a lot of conferences and they're pretty specific about their message. GTIA is across the board. And it's about community, and it's about helping your fellow MSPs be successful. And how can we put things in practice? And how can we brainstorm without having to worry about an industry where people are trying to steal each other's clients? I don't know any other way of saying that. But there is so much information out there at GTIA. If you guys haven't had a chance to go through their website, they've revamped it. They've made it easier to pick and choose things. There are handbooks, there's procedures, policies, there's, You name it, they have it, or if they don't have it, they're creating it right now. How to do an internship at your company, just a slew of things. And then a side note from that, I'm pretty heavily involved in Central Mafia Group. It used to be the old ConnectWise group, and we've now become all encompassing of that. And I'm specifically with the Midwestern. September 17th, I believe, is our date.
We'll be up there
in Burr Ridge. And it's just a place that MSPs can come where they're not being sold things. We're talking about the industry, what we've experienced, what we see coming up in the future, and just really bonding as a community, a central community. I've seen people where they've had too much work on their plate and they're frustrated and they don't know what steps to do, or how do I hire good people? And another MSP has said, you know what, I'm light on work. Let's partner and get this done. And just really helped each other be successsul.
Love it. Yeah, we'll do our best to be up there, likely at Simek as well as ChannelCon. I'm curious. Tim said I don't walk on water, but I'm a strong swimmer. I actually lessons with my daughters. She's getting better. Floater. But I'm curious if anybody's in the audience who's a member of GTIA. Will you be here at ChannelCon this year? And while you type that up, I'm going to start digging into our topic today. Okay. We're going to talk about the MSP operations, where AI fits and where AI doesn't. And so, Heather, I'm curious, just to kind of start us off, give us this is a very broad question, so you can take it anywhere. Give us your viewpoint on AI and where you've started to see it fit in the way that maybe you work, or fit in the way that you haven't seen it work in the way that you're doing your jobs day to day.
So I don't consider AI being new. I think AI has been around for a long time. Maybe I don't think it was really called AI. I know there's a lot of companies out there that were looking at like level 1 tickets and doing self-resolution and things like that. To me, that was the beginning of AI. And that's been around at least 10 years, if not longer. As far as an operational thing goes, if you're an MSP that is starting to dabble in AI, I would get your house fixed with AI and actually understand how it works and what their capabilities are for your MSP before you go out and sell it. Because if you don't understand AI, what I found was most of our customers were like, we need AI right now. That's the buzzword. And then I'd sit with them and say, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What tasks are you trying to have AI help you with, to save time with, and all those types of things? And they don't know. Yeah. And if you don't understand the capabilities and see some results to give them examples, you're going to fail as an MSP. You're not going to be able to sell it. And it's really not about selling it. It's about helping your customers be more successful. The more successful you can help your customers, the stronger the relationship is going to be and that trust is going to be. So we went through a very light process before I left, where we were trying to understand specific industries. We were weighing heavily in insurance and in private equity. That was kind of our forte.
Yeah.
And, they needed a lot of help with like Excel documents and things like that. So that's what we were starting to understand. But again, until our engineers really worked with it themselves, we were not prepared to go to market.
I agree with that. Customer zero is a critical one. Yes, it is, Heather. We love Heather, Brett. I say customer zero has to be first. And, there's this thing I've been learning as I've been kind of in my experimentation here in this world where, as a business wanting to adopt AI, you rush to adopt it.
Yeah.
You rush to adopt the 2 letters. You don't know your roadmap or your plan.
100%.
And what's funny is that one of the best way, if you look at all the tactics for a proper AI implementation, having a roadmap actually is one of the top items. And so having an actual plan makes a lot of sense, right? It's just org change. This isn't rocket science. Everybody wants to think it's harder than it is. But there's this antithetical thing that's happened, especially in the scenario you talked about, Heather, and why I'm going to reinforce customer zero. Because if you build a roadmap, but have never used AI, and you say, hey, I want to have AI here, 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 the likelihood of that roadmap actually mattering after the first 30 to 60 days is almost zero, because you can't really build a roadmap until you have the understanding of the AI, like what it can do and cannot do.
Right.
And so I love saying, get your house fixed with AI, focusing on customer zero, because really you can't build a plan without understanding the technology. And that therein lies where I think the opportunity in the industry fits, but also inside the MSP, there's so much capability in that if you haven't began dabbling. And so I want to now jump into, thinking about customer zero.
Okay.
You spent a lot of time in operations, did a lot of work inside the IT service provider that you were at prior. Like, if you were going to start an MSP today and you had AI in your hands, how would you do it differently?
Well, that's a pretty big question.
Just from an operations perspective.
So for me, what I was starting to do, and it sounds so silly, but fixing my email box. I would get hundreds, if not 1,000 emails a day. Some of them legit and some of them salesy.
Yep.
And so, but it's hard to find the ones that you have to respond to all the time if you have so much other stuff in there. So as a manager or a leader in the industry, that was like my first thing. Let's figure out what my day looks like. What do I have to focus on that I didn't realize was yesterday on the plate that I need to realize and address today. And I know that sounds very elementary, but for me, it was really important that I reached out to either, was it an employee that needed something answered that was holding up a project? Was it a customer that was having an issue? Was it a prospective customer that got my name somewhere that I needed to reach out to and be responsive to? All of those things are equally important. So that is a small task that you can implement right away and see the result. And when you're talking to your customer, I'm sure they have that same email box. So I know I'm dumbing it down, but it was really important for me.
Look, you say the word dumbing it down. I say the word keeping it simple.
Okay.
I pull up this this pyramid that I talk about a lot, which is this world of where AI fits.
Right.
And I heard a few different scenarios here where you talked about this generative AI layer, where you talked about your customers needing help with Excel and using maybe or Claude in Excel, or you talk about having emails being drafted for you by default, or you started to hint into one of my favorite use cases that is just so low hanging fruit, which is a chief of staff for every employee. And to help do that inbox triage. And so I pull up this pyramid because I think when we're looking at both our business and our customers, we tend to want to think about automating the big, hairy process that nobody likes, or the big, hairy process that takes a lot of time. But we forget about this generative AI layer. And so when you said dumb it down, I actually would encourage to listen to Heather's advice here to keep it simple. I'll give you a better phrasing here in the sense that it is simple. Like if we start with the generative AI layer, and we go back to my point earlier on the road mapping, like if people don't even know what generative AI does, they're going to jump to thinking automation. Whereas they might think, wow, if I could give every one of my sales reps Intel, or I could give every one of my sales reps Inbox Zero, or I could give them all auto drafts to the way that they communicate with customers, like that would change the way that those people work. And so I love the way that you're talking about keeping it simple, because quite frankly, yes, I agree, Brett. That's the first thing I automated here when I was starting the business is it's like, it's all about focusing on the basics. And so I don't know. You say that, but that is one of the best tactics. So great advice.
So my second thing that I would encourage people to do is have it take minutes for all your meetings, so you can be in the meeting and not worrying about taking notes in the meeting. So you're totally focused with your customer, with your employee, whoever you're meeting with. Because when you break and you're writing notes and you break and you write notes, you kind of lose what that other person is saying. And I like being in the moment.
Yeah.
And then it gives you your list of to-dos that you can dump into your CRM for your project. So our account managers led by projects after each meeting. And the project was, what were the to-dos, what were the tasks, and then you get to close out the project once you took care of all that stuff.
Well, and you just hit another, what I think, again, is completely repeatable motion for our space.
Yeah.
90% of the customers we serve have Microsoft 365.
100%.
Enabling Microsoft Teams facilitator.
Yeah.
Sounds basic, but when we go into a room and we start whiteboarding crazy ideas, why don't we just start with turning on facilitator and Teams recordings and transcriptions? Like, it doesn't have to be rocket science here.
Yeah.
And I think that modern workplace is, everybody's kind of, there's like these three things that are muxing together. We have modern workplace features, which are just features. You turn them on and your customer is wowed with the outcomes.
Yeah.
That's simple. So you have modern workplace. You then have that generative AI layer of keeping it simple. That in itself is a lot of value. And so then people that want to whiteboard, like, you're jumping over such huge wins. And back to that pyramid, the last thing I'll bring up here is, like, imagine equipping everybody with all those wins instead of focusing on one automation. There's this thing that I fear will happen if we go in and we start with automation first. The very first interaction an employee might have is AI taking part of their job versus helping the whole organization get that value creation.
So it's interesting that you say that. My son, he's 25. So he's in that kind of age group right now, whose true fear is that AI is going to take over and they're not going to have a job anywhere. And I actually had an opportunity to sit down with a couple of them and say, where's the fear coming from? Why do you think that? And by the end of the conversation, we were able to talk about ways that they can go to their company and say, hey, I think we can automate this so I can work more on this. And they felt a lot better. And I think as we're talking to our customers, part of our job is to make them understand we're not trying to replace people with AI. We're trying to enhance their businesses. The goal isn't to get rid of people. The goal is to give them other responsibilities, growth, and things like that to make your business even more successful.
Yeah.
And that's part of our responsibility, because I think the initial reaction is, oh, I can reduce my staff. Yeah. Well, that's not really, you still need to inspect it. You can't just, it's like going through Google. You can't just blindly say, oh, it must be true, Google says it is. You really still need people to inspect what that output is. Maybe not as much as if they were doing it themselves. Much easier to critique than it is to create, but you still have that responsibility, and you have to make sure that there's the right parameters. You cannot allow people to go out into the wild. So those are some key things that you have to think about as an MSP in the industry that you are providing AI for, which is why I go back to do it in your own house first.
Yeah. Yeah. And you touched on a lot of key things here. You touched on one, there's an internal guy at my team, his name's Mark, who talks a lot about abundance versus scarcity mentality. The new generation fears of the scarcity mentality because that's what's in the news. The abundance mentality is not what's in the news, quite frankly. So when we think about an abundance mentality, we think about how we can grow our businesses with AI and make them more efficient and grow them with the team we have and be able to create new opportunities or create new lines of business or new SKUs or new offerings.
Right.
Which is the scarcity mentality, which is, how do I cut some headcount and maximize EBITDA? I think the people that go down the scarcity mentality will find themselves in the same playbook of an outcome where all of a sudden they've maximized everything, but they've never focused on growth the whole time. And those businesses that took AI and focused from the abundance mentality will have seen a lot of flourishing growth, and then they can optimize where needed. So that's a big piece.
And I've always said that those people that are doing it like that, they're going to end up rehiring everybody in 5 years.
Yeah. Well, they're already starting to as everything becomes buggier and buggier from the hyperscalers. And then you also hit on, you said the word right parameters, and I like that word. What you dabbled on in my mind when you said it, the context you said it in was make sure they have the right parameters so it's safe and so the outcome is right. But what that is simply governance, and that's data governance, and that's AI governance, and that's acceptable use policies, and that's the ability to come in and help them understand the approved tools and the unapproved tools. And it starts to dabble into something we're really, really closely good at here in the industry, which is providing some level of guardrails and parameters to make sure that they adopt AI safe. So I don't know if those are areas that you talked about internally as you went through an AI transformation.
We did.
Key things on an AI rollout.
But it's also inspecting it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can say, oh, you can only use these 3 AI tools, but you have to have a way of inspecting it. And there are vendors out there.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say any of their names.
Sure, yeah.
But there are vendors out there that provide you those tools to see where people are signing up for. Are they signing up for trials and things like that? So you can manage that. And if the MSP has that in their repertoire and they're selling it, they should also consider that this is a non-negotiable. If you're going to go AI, then you have to also purchase this with us, so we can help you monitor to make sure you remain safe.
Yeah, it's one thing to put out a policy and say, hey, here's what's acceptable. It's another thing to enforce the policy.
100%. And it's not that people are trying to go rogue on purpose to do anything malicious. I think sometimes they just do what's easy. And it's easier to sign up and go over here than it is to follow all these rules.
Yeah, you're dabbling into a world I have so much empathy for, in the sense that, I always said it back at Sasleo where it was, people are going to follow the path of least resistance. It's not about that. They're often not trying to do anything malicious to the organization. They're just trying to get their job done. Right. And it's the same with AI. AI is an even more, I'll even use the right word, addicting tool. I keep joking that AI is like the TikTok for us adults in the career. Like, it's addicting to use AI because you get addicted to the productivity.
Yeah.
And so you can't blame the employees for trying to be more productive, but you do need guardrails, and then you need governance, and you need security around the shadow AI problem.
Well, that was kind of my full circle thing, was AI needs to be part. We did biannual or twice a year, we would go into our customers and talk about best practices from a security standpoint. And AI needs to be part of that now. You have to make sure that your customers understand why there's a governance, why we have policies, and what happens if we don't. Same thing like, don't plug your USB charger into the airport charging system because you don't know what's back there. But now we have to, and AI will help you create those presentations. And I mean, it's really good because I know a lot of people in tech that's administrative. They don't want to work with the administrative. They just want to get their hands dirty on the problem and fixing the problem and creating things and all of those. So AI is going to help you create those best practices. But you got to make sure your customers understands it. So it's really important that you maintain that relationship. AI is not going to replace relationships. We keep our customers because of the relationship. So your jobs aren't going anywhere. You're not being replaced. It's just your delivery of your message is different.
And you kind of hit it right home as we tail towards the end here. Like, you said inspecting it and watching it. You're talking about human in the loop, a very fundamental practice for all AI. But I don't know if you've realized it, but along this call, by the way, I didn't know leading questions. I just asked a lot of open-ended questions. You actually led to what would be a very easy practice for an IT provider to provide to their customers. You said things around governance and setting up acceptable use policy and enforcing them.
Yeah.
That is something that's critical. You talked about visibility into some of that shadow AI. That's an absolutely critical use case.
Yeah.
You talked about best practices and roadmaps and governance. That's something that can be provided. And then you hit some of the very fundamentals, which are just modern workplace enhancements. That is also something that can be provided. So you actually, along this conversation, have put together quite a compelling offering, I think, for any business who needs their AI foundation laid out. And so super fun conversation here, Heather. We didn't get too deep in the operations, which I think is okay, because I think we
might be back.
such a valuable. Yeah, we'll have you back on round 2. Like, we had such a fun time talking across here. But we've got another. We still have one more segment left.
Okay.
Here's our rapid fire wrap up. But before I ask that, I always ask this final question before the wrap up, which is, you came on the show today. What was a question that you expected me to ask that I didn't?
Probably a specific task, how I would use AI to change it.
So give me a specific task that you would use AI to change.
I think it would depend on the department, because there's things in accounting that I think are okay with AI, Excel spreadsheets and things like that. But there's other things like payroll and things like that. No, I don't think AI has a place there. For service desk, I think there's a place for level 1 tickets to get resolved quickly. But I also think account managers could use AI to review the tickets for the quarter and show your customer where those are and whether or not it's a training issue. Did they hire a bunch of new employees? Is it a specific employee that's calling in mostly? And all those types of things. I think with marketing, you can use AI to do some of those basic tasks, create a blog talking about a specific function, or go out to AI and say, hey, in this industry, what were some hits that they had this quarter? So they could be in alignment with what they're publishing. I mean, really, there's every single department has an area that you can start at as a baseline without overwhelming the employees or scaring the employees, and seeing actual results of time saving. As soon as they start seeing their time being saved, they're going to get more and more excited about, oh, well, what else can we do? But again, you have to have the policies in place up front. You have to be monitoring up front.
Yeah. And I think what you just hit on is really critical. I call it tipping the domino a lot, which is the idea of find something simple,
very much,
achieve it, and tip the domino. What I mean by that is everybody remembers the first time that they used generative AI to have an outcome that actually changed their workflows, because it was quite impactful in the way that we work.
Right.
Our job as a managed service provider, in my opinion, internally, if it's not already been completed, is to make sure every employee's domino is tipped, so that they have that inspiration and understanding of where it can help them.
Right.
And then from there, our job is to tip the domino across the organizations that we support.
Right.
And once we start that, there's more we can do. But that's our first job if we haven't done that already.
I would say start with HR for onboarding.
Yeah.
Onboarding an employee, get that employee onboarded right. Have AI help you if you don't have your process in order. Have it help you develop that. Have it help you. We always did 45 days where they did a check-in every day, like a little recap every day about what they learned. Did they have any questions? To be able to compile that, to be able to fix that process. And to get them to understand where we're using AI in the MSP and why we're using MI, because you got to explain why you're using it, not only that you're using it.
So again, you've hit on Prosky proposes that you should get in front of the human fears of AI before you do a rollout. This is something my boss said a decade ago, and it's stuck with me. And the lack of information, people always assume the worst. And so hitting it in front of you, you have to get into it. And so I love it, Brett. Thank you. Yes, we changed a little bit. We're more on grounded intelligence. We have real conversations around this thing. And so we always try to bring value. I think, Heather, you've provided a ton of value. If people were here, they just walked away with tactics, not only for their business, but for ways to think with their customer. And that is an incredibly valuable thing that we can achieve here in 30 minutes. And so
great.
I look at it now. We're going to go into rapid fire wrap up. This is a easy segment for me, a little harder for you. This is simple, though. You have as much time as you want to think about the answer.
Okay.
But you're only allowed one sentence. So it would be impossible for me.
Okay. Do you not know me, John?
I know. That's why I said it's going to be tough for you too, but we'll keep it simple. So,
okay.
What is one use case in AI for operations that's just hype?
I'm not sure I can think of a specific thing that I think is hype, because I think AI can help in a lot of areas to a degree. I think the hype is that across the board is it's going to replace people, and AI will not replace relationships.
That right there is a great answer. I agree with that. I think actually, quite frankly, with AI, we amplify the human as long as we do it right.
We have more work to explain.
Yeah, and more time if we do it right too, to spend with our customers. What is one underrated place that AI quietly delivers?
Service desk.
Yeah.
So is that one sentence?
Go ahead. Fine. I interrupted you. You got two more sentences.
Okay. Because it's going to help in a lot of areas. It's going to help with vendor management. It's going to help with customer focus, and it's going to help with account managers understanding where those holes are and that we're providing or not providing, whether it be training or anything.
Yeah, I think there's a lot there.
Self-resolution.
We could get into a whole other topic about service desk margin compressions that are coming along the way.
Even with just being able to have all the engineers ask the right questions and having it flag out by saying, ask this, or did you answer this?
Yeah. I think I know the answer to this next question. It seems like it's a freebie for you, given you've already answered it today. Automate it or keep it human? Your gut call.
Both.
Yeah. I think it depends on the actual use case and how you're going about it. So yeah, I'm with you here.
I think there's automation opportunity just about anywhere, but without our relationships, why do people stay? People stay because of relationships. They don't stay because of, there's a million vendors out there and a million providers out there, and we all basically do the same. We have a little bit different stacks, but it's the relationship and the investment of the MSP into your customers that really, and the trust that you build that keeps them around.
Yeah, and I think that's going to lean into our last question. And I think I'll know the answer based off of a lot of trends here. Finish the sentence. AI doesn't belong in the process when
human relationships are required.
I agree with you. Absolutely, Heather. I think we are very much in a parallels in the way that we think about this. I think for everybody that joined us here, they walked away with a ton of takeaways. Heather, normally at the very end of the show, I like to give the guest the opportunity to have a shameless plug. So if there's anything you want to promote, anything you want to plug, here's your opportunity. Go ahead.
I think everybody, if you're here in the Midwest, should come to Central Mafia. Central Mafia allows you to meet with other MSPs here in the Midwest, to brainstorm and to see what is going on in our industry and to help you build more relationships with like-minded people without having to have that vendor selling thing that maybe some of the other shows that you go to attend is a little more focused on. And obviously ChannelCon is coming up. They're going to have a huge lineup of 80s music. And not only that, there's some great vendor shows that are going to be happening on the floor that it just gives you an opportunity to go in there and see what's going on in our industry. Both those events are super important and are coming up.
Love it. I put the links in chat for those that want to look for it. And if they want to get hold of you, Heather, what's the best way for them to get hold of you?
Well, most of you probably already have my phone number.
Fair enough.
You can LinkedIn me. I'm pretty much, that's probably the easiest way. But if you have my phone number, you absolutely can just shoot me a text and we'll set something up.
All right. Well, Heather, it's been a wonderful time having you on the show. Thank you so very much for being part of it. Good luck with the newborn any day now. I'm excited for you. So cheers, everybody. Thanks for joining along. Brett, Tim, Lon, it was great to see you this morning. Cheers.
Bye.